and welcome to Cash Campaign of Maryland's Money Power Day. My name is Elise. I'm here from Trustplus for our financial guidance in COVID-19 webinar. So first, I want to welcome you all here today. We're going to introduce ourselves and just go a little bit into who we are, what we do, and some tips and guidance for this, this crisis that we're all going through together. Even though this is a recorded webinar, we will have people standing by to answer any questions you may have. You can drop that in the chat box. And, during and after the presentation, there will be people available to answer any questions you may have. So first of all, who are we? What is Trustplus? So that entails, first of all, expert financial coaches. My name is Elise. I'm a financial coach with Trustplus. With me here is Tiffany, and you'll be getting to know us both a little bit further on in the presentation. Tiffany is also an expert financial coach. Our services also provide an easy-to-use web application, which includes tools for budgeting. You can review your credit report, you can see your FICO score, and in there, you'll also have access to the personalized action plan that we create together. Our service is 100% confidential. We don't share your information with anybody. We are available 24/7. You can text or email anytime. And we do offer lifetime access to the help you need. And this is, of course, at no cost to you at any point. We are a nonprofit social enterprise, so we are totally unbiased and we're entirely motivated by your success. We are not trying to sell any products here. We're a nonprofit. And I want to talk a little bit about our approach. So like many people, like many organizations, we've all had to adapt for this COVID-19 crisis, and we've adapted our coaching as well. One thing that's always been really important to us is to reflect on our values and priorities. And a lot of what that means is active problem solving with you. There's no one approach that's going to work for everybody. And there's no one approach that's going to work for every time. So we're going to work on your issues with you, anything that might arise in the next few weeks. I know a lot of people are just going week to week now, or even day to day. And then also keeping in mind that 3 to 4 months from now, things may have changed. So we're planning for the present and also for the future. We do work with you to make a plan, like I said, that works with your needs. And part of that is also documenting the impact that COVID-19 has had on your finances personally. So I mentioned before, my name is Elise, that's me, and just a little bit about myself. I am an enthusiastic home baker. I love making cakes and cupcakes and cookies and decorating them. I'm also an avid reader. I love to read any genre, fiction, nonfiction, murder, mystery, whatever, you name it, I will give it a try. And I am also a former Jeopardy champion. That was about a year ago. I'm still coasting. And I'm here with Tiffany. Tiffany, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Elise. Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffany, and as Elise mentioned, I'm also a financial coach on the Trustplus team. And here are a few things about me. I was born and raised in Southern California, and I moved to New York a little over 2 years ago, where our Trustplus organization is based out of. Another thing is I like to cook without recipes. My grandma showed me how to cook, and we never measured things, and that's how I like to continue cooking. And lastly, at the top of my bucket list for travel is to go to the Galapagos Islands. I have some family in Ecuador where the islands are off of, and I'd like to make that a big trip one day.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. So some of the objectives that we will be covering today. First one is get to know Trustplus, meet Tiffany and Elise. Check. Next up, we're going to talk about assessing your expenses. After that, we'll talk about assessing your income sources. We will discuss what actions you can take today to achieve your financial goals. And then, as I mentioned, there will be a Q&A. You can reach out with any questions you may have, and somebody will be there to answer them. So the first thing I want to do is take a moment to reflect, just center ourselves and think about where are our finances today. And that includes thinking about things like, how has your financial situation changed? What are your biggest concerns? And what is something financial that you need to take care of soon? So I'm going to give us a few seconds to sort of reflect on that for a moment. And I will give you an example of something financial that I need to take care of soon. Like a lot of people, my budget has changed dramatically over the last 6 months. And I need to go back to my budget and update my spending plan so that it better aligns with my spending and where I'm at now and any new expenses I might have. Tiffany, I know you were saying something that a lot of our clients are dealing with right now.
Definitely. So some of their biggest concerns that they brought to my attention is that they've had to deplete their savings either for a family emergency or, like you said, adjusting their budget. So, it's how to rebuild that rainy day fund or even how to start that rainy day fund has been a concern.
Yeah, exactly. And that Tiffany's seen it, I've seen it. It's definitely something that is on a lot of people's minds. And just thinking about why we reflect, we understand that times are overwhelming right now, but you're not alone. Anything that is concerning to you, you have millions of Americans in the same boat with you. And you also have your Trust Plus financial coaches to support you and help you out. Things are changing really rapidly right now, and there is a lot of uncertainty out there. So we're trying to respond as the circumstances change, as the world changes. And we also understand that there's no one size fits all answer. So we're going to do our best to help you wherever you're at. And that goes for this webinar, and that also goes for your individual sessions with a financial coach. So Tiffany is going to take over for a bit, and she's going to talk about prioritizing expenses in this uncertain time.
Thanks, Elise. So now that we've reflected a little bit about our financial situation, we really want to start prioritizing these expenses. One of the biggest tools we have for money management is taking into account what transactions are happening for us and just quickly take stock of all the big expense categories you're needing today. So we want to start thinking, what are some of the needs that you have and how can we split these into two categories, with them being fixed and variable. And this is where you really want to start your spending plan. We have some fixed needs like rent or mortgage. Others can be car insurance, internet service. These expenses can be a little easier to account for because they don't fluctuate. The amount is generally the same month to month. But we do have our variable needs that tend to fluctuate, and these will include food, utilities, gas for your car, especially with times like COVID. During the summer, gas prices were down. So you really, again, just want to take a look at what your transactions have been like and do an inventory and see how variable are these expenses. So if you have seen that your household has seen changes in income or expenses, just, you'd want to consider what makes you feel secure. For some, it could be just maintaining your credit score. If payments are getting harder, to reach out to your creditor and ask for some flexibility. So that's going to be our first category here, is weighing out between this flexibility and liquidity. What do you need for you? So before you make these calls and see if for your situation what can help, you're going to want to see what they can offer in terms of a grace period. If they're lenient and maybe they're willing to reduce the minimum payment or the interest rate, or is negotiating or settling an account an option. That could be a way where you can trim some of these expenses for a period of time. Now, when we go to liquidity, sometimes flexibility plays into this, because if you're able to reduce those expenses, now you may have more cash on hand. And so you'll want to know what expenses require a cash payment, and if it needs, if not, can you put it on a credit card? So you'll want to know what expenses can be covered by what. So I want to share a personal story. I've been working with a client who had been working on reducing her credit card this year. She has brought it down from about $6,000 to $950, but she just lost her job. So although she so badly wants to just pay off the credit card, she does need to think about the future months of paying rent. And so she's done a great job thus far, but from here on, the plan is just to meet the minimum payment and keep that cash on hand for being able to pay those expenses that require cash payment. And now that we've gone through some of these needs, we're also going to want to go through some of the smaller discretionary fixed and variable expenses that we have. Under fixed, this could be non-necessities. And to your judgment, this can include things like subscription services. I usually do free trials of things and set reminders to cancel. And I was going through this presentation, I remembered that I had done a trial on Amazon and I canceled it yesterday. Elise can also chime in about a system that she has for her subscription services.
Oh yeah, I won't pay for two streaming services at once. I will get Netflix, watch everything I want to watch on Netflix, and then I cancel it, do Hulu, same thing. To me, it's not worth it to pay for two streaming services at the same time.
And I think it's nice to have that hard and fast rule so you don't extend yourself to all the streaming services that are out there. There's so many.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And you also have expenses that are variable. So you'll want to think about where these expenses can be trimmed and just take a look at where they've increased. So you really want to be real with yourself. Is this really an expense that you're willing to trim? If not, what's the barrier that exists that's keeping you from being able to reduce this?
Yeah, and just to chime in here, one of those barriers might be being at home all day and having your kids home all day. That can really make that grocery budget hard to trim because everyone is home snacking.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to move on to food and nutrition, and it's going to rank really high in terms of your spending plan because it is such an important bill. COVID has led to an increase of food insecurity across this country. And when you start a session with a financial coach, we really just want to assess and make sure that you are able to cover this expense in your spending plan. If you are having a hard time, we would encourage you to sign up for SNAP benefits if you're eligible and getting access to food pantries or thinking about where in your community can they help you obtain food. If you find that you're able to cover food expenses and you're just seeing an increase in costs, like Elise had mentioned, having kids doing remote learning and just going through that growth spurt and they're looking inside the fridge every hour, you're going to want to see, is there a place where you can trim the fat? And so Ways to do this is you can find ways to change it up. Use coupons or look at sale items, take inventory so things don't go to waste. You can work with your coach also to make a meal plan and find recipes if you like using recipes. You can also be open to adjusting your eating style. I have a client who is vegetarian Monday through Friday and eats meat on the weekends. So again, it's creating a barrier so she stays accountable, and she drew those hard lines to during the week, I am vegetarian. And you can always prepare food and freeze it. Sometimes these meals are just easier. So you make big batches and you're good to go for the week. So another important expense for people's spending plan generally is your home. You'll want to just know if you are able to meet your rent obligations, or is this starting to become a challenge? And if it's starting to become a challenge, Elise, if you
Sorry.
can, no problem. If it's starting to become a challenge, you're definitely going to want to contact your landlord about your options. To make a point here, there has been an additional federal eviction ban effective September 4th through December 31st. The CDC guidelines, we can talk about what are your rights as a tenant and what options are available to you if you are struggling meeting your rent obligations. If you own or have a mortgage and are feeling in a pinch, you'll definitely want to reach out and contact your mortgage lender to see what programs are available to you. Again, with COVID, there has been a lot of changes and a lot more flexibility that we've seen. You'll also want to contact a HUD certified housing counselor. This can be a long process. So if you're looking for a place to start, maybe it's just connecting with a financial coach, reviewing that spending plan, in the meantime, while you're getting connected to this resource. And we also have, this slide labeled your comfort, but we are finding that communication utilities are more important than ever. We encourage you to consider internet and cell phone service as a necessary utility to get access to information. It's more important now than ever. So many providers have pledged support to consumers during this time, especially with students being at home, and everything is done, remotely, working from home as well. And another big category that tends to range in people's spending plan is the transportation costs. This is the biggest expense that changes from family to family and area. Trustplus is a service where we talk to people all across the nation, and in some places like New York City, having a car may not be as needed if they're using public transportation, but in other places like California, where I grew up, everyone has a car. So you'll want to just take a stock of what is that costing you. If you have a car loan and you need flexibility, call and speak to your lender, but be mindful of what they're offering you. In some states, auto loans are illegal, like in the state of Maryland and New York, but it's not the case for all, and they can be really predatory. So really understand, what are they offering you? Okay, so let's talk about credit and other debts. This is something that comes up in a lot of our sessions. And if you are feeling like you're unable to keep up with the credit commitments, you'll just want to organize yourself before calling your creditor. You'll want to gather any documents that would support the conversation, and you'll want to understand, can you afford the interest that's accruing? Do you know what's going to help your situation if it means having the payments paused? Do you need to get enrolled in a hardship or forbearance program that will reduce your payments and may lower your interest rate if needed? So just having that documentation before you call is going to be important. And here we're going to just make a note. Make sure you only give the information that they need. There's a lot of fine print when it comes to borrowing, and even something is letting them know that your income has gone up. It may be information that they can use to increase your payment, even if it's temporary. So only give the information that you need to give. All right. And if you're feeling like you're not making much progress on the call, what I found is that a lot of new representatives are getting trained and they don't know all the options that they can give you. So if you are getting frustrated, ask to speak to a supervisor. And if that is still not leading anywhere, you can always call back at a different time or day. And another note here for federal student loan borrowers is you do not need to take any action to suspend your payments for federal student loans. Your student loans have been automatically suspended through December 31st. Private student loans are a different matter. So if you are, or if you do hold a private student loan and need more flexibility, just reach out to see what they can offer you. But, with a Trustplus coach, you can also talk about what you would need to be able to refinance the loan or get more information about payment options. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Elise.
Thank you. So Tiffany just brought up so many good points, and I think that those are all really useful, really important things to consider. And as I mentioned, we're all about making things work for you. So there are some questions that you're going to want to ask yourself because you're really the only person who can answer them. You want to think about, what does it mean for your mental health if some bills or debts go unpaid? Some people, it really stresses them out to have, they feel like something is hanging over their head. Other people are like, you know what, I'm doing what I can, and this is where I'm at right now. You want to think about, will having that cash on hand bring you peace of mind? Some people find it very reassuring to just know that they have that liquid cash in case, they need it. And you also want to think about 6 months from now, will that interest or additional debt feel like money that was well spent to help you get through this crisis, or will it feel like a setback? And again, these are really personal questions. There's no right or wrong answer. Thinking about and considering the near future, there are just some things that you want to keep in mind as you're making these decisions. The first point is these pain points to consider. If you defer a payment today, when will that payment be due? Some mortgage companies are, delaying things by 3 months, but at the end of the 3 months, they want everything that's owed. Some mortgage companies are just adding 3 months to the end of the mortgage to sort of ease that. So that's definitely something that you want to keep in mind and just be aware of as you're making these decisions. And you also want to think about, how much will it cost you in the long run in interest or fees, and think about whether that is worth it to you at this point in time. We talked about using credit cards, which can be a really good option. It can be a really helpful tool to get you through a tight patch, but you do have that interest that's adding up. So it helps you through today, but you might be paying it off for a long time. So in general, what you want to consider is, what is vulnerable today versus what's vulnerable tomorrow. And again, these are not questions that you need to answer all by yourself. You can get the support you need, talk to a financial coach at Trustplus, work on your cash flow, review your credit, work on your debt, see your FICO score, and you can create a personalized action plan with a financial coach of your choosing. And you can take, all of those questions and considerations into account. All you need to do is text Cash MD to the number that you see on your screen, and you'll get a text with the link to the Trustplus application to get started. And then at the bottom, you can also see the website annualcreditreport.com. That is another resource that's available when you're working on your credit, when you're working on managing debt. You can get free access to a credit report from each of the 3 main credit bureaus. And in general, it's every 12 months, but seeing as there is a pandemic going on, they have agreed to provide consumers with that credit report once a week instead of once a year. So now through April, you can check all 3 of your credit reports for free once a week. So we talked about assessing expenses. Now let's talk about assessing your income. You might have economic impact payments coming to you, like the stimulus check we all got. So one thing that you want to do to make sure that they know where to find you is to file your income taxes. And this is especially advantageous if you are anticipating a refund. There are also unemployment benefits out there, and over the summer, those benefits were, enhanced with $600 extra a week. And that has expired, but there are certain states that are participating in the program where it's an extra $300 a week. And there are people who would not normally have been eligible for unemployment benefits. And because of the CARES Act, now those people can access those benefits. There are lots of stories out there about people who their applications have been approved, but they're still waiting on the funds. And that is just a situation where it's all about persistence, perseverance. Some people are making hundreds of calls, and you just have to hang in there. And again, this is a place where a financial coach can help you figure out the best way to get access to that money or things that might help, and also how to manage the time between now and getting your retroactive benefits. One thing that a lot of people are doing is taking this time to update skills or look into new industries. There's a lot of turbulence out there, and many industries are suffering, but there are some surprising opportunities out there. And there are also emergency relief programs out there offering emergency grants. So there may be something that you can look into for a COVID-19 relief grant. And in that case, you would definitely want to think about how can you make the most of that extra income. A lot of people right now are relying on their savings, which can be a double-edged sword. For a lot of people, saving might never have been a possibility. So that jar is already, running on empty. And then for others, saving up might have been an uphill battle that they were winning, able to put money away every week, every month. And it's very emotionally difficult to start taking money out and put a hole in that now. When you are taking your savings into account, one thing that you definitely want to consider is, are there upcoming needs or possible needs that might also be relying on that savings fund? And think about, is there anything in there that you might be able to earmark for future expenses? Okay, so with the talk about income and savings, as we know, there are a lot of scammers out there, and Tiffany is going to go a little bit into how to protect yourself against those scams.
Yes, we have been seeing or hearing from our clients the kind of scams that have come to them. And if it's come to them, we know it's come to so many. So please be mindful. As we talked about earlier with student loans, federal borrowing, the payment has been suspended. So if the federal government will not ask for a fee to suspend your payments, there's no action required of you. If someone asks for money to process this information, it is a scam. And you should report them to the Federal Trade Commission's Complaint Assistance. And you'll also want to be mindful of phishing emails, invitations to open things on a link or website can lead to identity theft, and it's very important to keep that information secure and private. So, one story that has been brought to my attention is even websites that look really great, like PayPal, saying that your payment information has not been updated, and to click there to update it. So you'll definitely want to go to the original site, even if they make the email look like it is coming from a reputable business. So always navigate going to the original site. And we're also seeing, now with different forms of communication, they're hitting you in every which way, and that can include just text messages, mimicking banks or other government sources. Something we've been seeing an uptick of is clients getting reached out by SNAP benefits or unemployment, trying to get your personal information. This can also include texts from Amazon saying that your package was delivered and here's the link, or the voicemails that your car warranty is expired. So just always verify who you are communicating with. And lastly, on an extreme example is people who have some of your information already and are posing as loved ones and sending you messages urging them to wire money. They'll say that they need cash to help with an emergency, like paying a hospital bill or needing to leave a foreign country. I mean, they can get really creative. So just make sure, again, you know who you're communicating with and know that people are looking to scam you. So what can you do? Here are a few good practices. Just like Elise had mentioned earlier, checking your annual credit report for free. You can do this weekly until April of 2021. So we highly recommend that. If you feel like your information has been compromised, make sure you are looking and monitoring your credit. You can get them from TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. You'll also want to go to reputable sites if you're using your credit or debt information. Make sure that you have secured internet service and practice secure passwords. Sometimes it is hard to remember all of them, but it is important to have your passwords be at least 8 characters, mix of letters, numbers, and symbols. And you're also going to want to check your credit card statements and bank transactions to ensure that you're yours. Sometimes your bank will call you if the transaction doesn't look like it was something that fell in your pattern of spending. But that's not always the case, and you're going to want to take a look at what charges are pending. I've caught a few of them myself that were not my charges, and I was able to clear that up right away before it became a posted charge. And if you have been scammed, one of the most important things you can do is actually, after you get everything situated, but you can help the next person who may also have been, in the future, been scammed. So you can be a hero by reporting them to the Federal Trade Commission. And doing this, if the Federal Trade Commission is seeing a pattern of these, like the Social Security was a big one, where people were being reached out to by the Social Security office, they can then make, a marketing campaign about it so people are more aware of it.
All right. Thank you, Tiffany. So how do we, there are all these different scams and debts and crises and stresses out there. How do we address that? Well, we make a plan. And one of the things that we all find super helpful as a tool is tracking your cash flow. So this means just keeping track of your spending, keeping an eye on it. Weekly is better than monthly because it's a little bit easier to course correct. And if you do have a budget that can help you see what's coming in and what's going out, that's just an amazing tool for gaining control of your finances. The budget does not have to be your own spreadsheet or a list. You can use an app like Mint, or you can use an app from your bank, and that will help you to see just at a glance summaries of what you're spending, what categories things are falling into, and scheduled expenses, upcoming bills. In terms of keeping track of those bills, it's a great idea to write down a list of all your bills and when they're due, just to make sure that you will have the money to cover those bills when they come due. Now is also a good time, especially if your income has been cut, to review the automatic payments that you have set up. When do they come out? Is that still a system that works for you? As coaches, we generally love to set up automatic payments because you can schedule them and you know that all your bills will get paid on time. But if there's a chance that it'll stretch you too thin, if there's a chance that you might end up overdrafting your account, we would work with you to figure out a new approach, one that works better for where you're at and your current situation. Another thing that is really helpful at this time is to get organized. You want to, if you have experienced the financial impact of coronavirus, you want to document that. Hold on to anything that you receive about changes in work status, whether that is a furlough or a reduction in hours or a layoff. That may be information that you will need later on. And as well, keep any receipts for any COVID-related purchases. So if it affects your income, if it affects your spending, that is definitely something to keep track of and build that paper trail. Speaking of paper trail, this is also something to keep in mind when you are dealing with maybe your landlord or maybe other creditors. Because if you have a discussion, people might remember it differently. So it's always best to create a document or just email yourself with a verbal update, oh, it's, September 30th at 3 in the afternoon, and I just talked to my landlord. He said X, Y, and Z. That way you have a timestamp, record of what happened. You want to keep all of this in the same place. So create a folder. Maybe that is a physical binder in your house. Maybe it is a folder on your computer's desktop with, electronic information, just so that it's all in the same place and you can access it easily. When you're talking to a creditor, you always want to confirm that they're making a note on the account. One thing that I like to do when I'm talking to creditors or doctors' billing offices, anything like that, I always just let them know that I'm taking notes. Ask for the spelling of their name, see if they have a customer ID number, and just let them know, like, oh yes, well, it is 10:30 in the morning, just in case we need to get to this recording later. After your call, it's always a great idea to send a follow-up email to customer service, if that's possible, confirming the agreement that you just reached with the rep, so that they also have a documentation of that there. And then one thing that is important just for your own organization is if you do have bills that have been deferred, if you do have, maybe student loan payments that have been deferred, you want to make a note of when those are payable again, so that it's not a surprise and it doesn't overwhelm you when they come due. And you can maybe write that on your calendar or set a reminder on your phone, maybe schedule an email to yourself that gets sent out maybe 2 weeks before that bill comes due, just so that it's easier for you to stay on top of this, what might be an unexpected expense. So we just talked about a few strategies to use for financial management during COVID-19. First, we talked about prioritizing your expenses and planning how your income and savings can be used to pay them. Talking about working with your creditors on reducing payments and or interest. And also organizing your budget and documentation so that you can be prepared for whatever comes next. And I'd like to throw this back out to the audience to think about what strategies would you add? If there's anything that has come up in the last 6 months or so that you have found super helpful that you would want to share with your friends or your family, or talk about with your Trustplus financial coach. And I'd also like to take a moment to think about taking action today, right? What do they say? A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? So let's take a moment to write a short action step so that you can take action today to feel more in control of your finances. So for example, here's the template. I will blank the action you want to take by the date, and I will accomplish this by, and your strategy there. Example, I will call my credit card company to get a hardship plan by the 10th of next month because my credit card is due on the 17th. And I will accomplish this by organizing my expenses and my bills. And some things that you can add there would be creating a written budget for your priorities and bills. Maybe you want to review your credit report, which again, you can do in the Trustplus web application. Or you might want to develop a strategy for trimming a variable expense or a non-necessity until your other expenses are stabilized. So take a brief moment to consider what's something that you can do today to take that first step towards getting more control over your finances. And it could be as simple as scheduling a Trustplus coaching session. So, plan in hand. Let's consider the future. You may be feeling the setbacks of the coronavirus and the economic crisis right now, but you still have goals and plans for the future. And you want to think about when will you be ready to start working towards those goals again? What are your opportunities? As I mentioned before, a lot of places and industries are struggling, but new ones are coming up and there are a lot of opportunities there. And you might carry over some of these strategies we're talking about after things go back to quote unquote normal and everything has opened back up again. There might be some habits that you find stick with you. So let's take a look back at what we've accomplished today. Reflected on the status of your finances and your top priorities. Check. Assessed your expenses and sources of income. Check. We thought about the future 2 to 3 months and what they hold. Check. And we've identified what actions you can take today to feel in control of your finances. Check. So how do you feel? We hope that you are feeling empowered and hopeful and optimistic for the future and what you can do to prepare for it. And again, we're here to help. We offer one-on-one support and guidance. We offer help with contacting creditors and debt and creating debt payment plans. On the app, you can see the credit report summary and your FICO score, as well as cash flow management tools and support, which we will also build with you. And we also send you text message reminders, both about the appointments that we have scheduled and the action points that we work on together, and that will be the most concrete steps to take towards your larger goals. So again, you can text Cash MD to that number that you see on your screen, 646-349-5959, and you can get started. And now, of course, we're going to open the floor up for any questions you might have. And this could be anything related to your finances. You might have questions about managing your cash. You might have questions about the Trust Plus coaching service and what that entails. You might have questions about the Trust Plus web application, or really anything else. We do have somebody on site ready to take your questions. Thank you so much for attending our webinar. We look forward to talking with you soon, and we hope you have a great rest of the day.